Okay, so welcome everybody. Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
We're here today with the Vinifilles group from Languedoc-Roussillon. I'll introduce them in a second. I'm Louise, I'm the moderator, and we've got a special guest with us today, which is Tamlyn Currin from Jance's team. Hi, Tam. And what's going to happen today is that we're going to have lunch. It's kind of fun idea that was created by the Vinifilles group. 6 of the Vinifilles, so women winemakers from Languedoc-Roussillon, decided that they would like to put together a box, a case of 6 wines, their wines, and then imagine some food pairings that would go with those wines. And this box is available to purchase. We'll give you details about that at the end of this short video. But first of all, let me just introduce the people who are here today, and then I'm going to hand over to one of them, and we'll start talking about the food and the wine. Okay? So we've got with us, working around the screen, I've got Carol Panman from Chateaubriand Blanc.
Hello.
Françoise Antec from Maison Antec. Do I say Antec or Antec?
Bonjour.
Isabelle Monjard from Claudinine.
Bonjour.
Pascal Rivière from La Jascastel.
Hello.
Valérie Ibanez from Domaine Mal.
Hello.
And Séverine Bourrier from Château de Loup, down in the Roussillon. Okay. Now, we have Tamlyn, whose name I'm going to change because it's missing an N. Let me just...
I'm always missing something.
Not an N, not on my watch. There we go. Now, I thought what we might do is kick off with Valerie, because Valerie is the president of the Vinifilles group right now. Maybe she could just tell us a few words about the group, why it exists, what it does. Valerie.
The Vinifilles is an association of female wine grower or winemakers. We are 21 in this group. It's been created since 2009, and we have the estates are from Collioure to Cévennes, big diversity, small, big domain. We represent about more than 20 appellations and more than 10 IGP. And it's a very dynamic group. We support each other. We're stronger together, and it's a good way to work to promote our vines and our terroir and appellation.
Excellent. And so, which appellation are you from, Valerie? Whereabouts in Languedoc are you?
I am in the appellation Gras de Montpellier.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. With a special accent, which means stonish soil in Occitan.
Okay, so you're near the city of Montpellier, relatively?
I'm 30 kilometers west from Montpellier. Mm-hmm. It's the beginning of the backland, in fact. Mm-hmm. Okay. You start to have small mountains and lots of garrigues. You still see the sea, but you're starting to get into the backland.
Okay. Okay, and the wine that we can find in the Vinifilles box that comes from your domain, from Domaine de Roquemal, is it's not a Gras de Montpellier though, is it? I think it's an IGP.
No.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a summer choice.
So tell us about that wine.
Yes, it's a summer choice because my wines in Gras de Montpellier are stronger, perhaps more autumn or winter wine, and this wine is for me the perfect wine for summer. Mm-hmm. It's very special because it's made with an old color grape from Languedoc, Alicante Boucher. Mm-hmm. It has been pulled out a lot, and so you don't have not many today. And we do short maceration because the color, the grape is red, very red, and we are quite low yield, so we don't have to go through a long maceration. We can keep the fruit. It's a little bit rustic, it's juicy, easy to drink, original. Mm-hmm. You can have it chilled if you want, because it's not very tannic. And it can support many different meals.
So what did you decide?
Besides the black rice salad.
Black rice, okay. If we can't find black rice, can we substitute something else? Maybe.
Of course, but we can. I don't know. You can use bulgur. Mm-hmm. I don't know if
Yeah.
If it's an English.
Yeah.
But
or red rice.
It has to be easy and rustic salad. To me, too much.
Okay. Tam, is that what you've got in your glass right now, Valerie?
Yes, that's what I've got in my glass. And I don't know if there's a gorgeous bright label. And I hope that this will show, but this is what.
Bravo!
There we go. That's what that's what we whipped up.
Right.
Me and my sous chef whipped up this morning to go with the wine. And I was, Valerie, one of the things I wrote in my review, because I reviewed this a while back, you sent me a sample, I think maybe a couple of months ago or 6 weeks ago. And funny enough, one of the things that I wrote was that also good lightly chilled, because when I tasted it, I just thought, oh, I've got to pop this in the fridge because I think that this will be beautiful with a bit of chill on it. It's got, and one of my questions to you was going to be, have you tried chilling it? And obviously you have.
Yes.
One of my other questions that I just loved about this one is it's got so much energy. I just thought that you could almost feel the energy in the wine. And I want to know, what is the secret of getting energy in a red wine, particularly in a warm place? You know, you're in a warm region, the south of France. So what is the secret to that?
Perhaps it's some of my energy that goes into the wine. But,
I was just going to say that. You should see the energy that Valerie has. Yeah.
No, there's another secret, and I'm not part of it. You're right. Where I am, it's a hot spot. Today, also very hot spot. But in the meantime, we have a very nice. The difference between the night and the day is pretty high, but the real difference comes from our soil. Our vines are planted on old bauxite ore. So we have lots of iron in our soils, and our acidity, which are usually pretty low in our region or where I am, is naturally high. So that's
because of the iron content.
Yes, the richness of iron you get higher acidity, plus we are growing organic for more than 13 years, so we also improve our acidity with the organic farming that I am sure of. And also you have a grape that is you have the color already, and it's really black, so you don't have to go through maceration, so you keep a fresh fruit. I think that's
the other interesting thing when I read your text sheets is that your total sulfur dioxide was 42 milligrams, which is really low. So what again, a lot of winemakers who use a lot of sulfur dioxide tell me that they do it to keep their wines fresh. You are getting the most beautiful fresh fruit, and yet using about as little sulfur dioxide as you can get away with.
Yes, but also this is because we have low yield, small crops, and very beautiful. The quality of our grapes is
they're very clean,
perfect. And then you just have to you just go along with the grape, and then your need of sulfites is pretty low. It's
Okay. And my last question is, how long would you keep Méli-Mélo, or do you think that it's a wine that should be drunk as fresh and as young as possible?
The rusticity of Alicante Boucher is very interesting. You can have it now and get the freshness, the black currant, and if you forget it, even though it's not a wine made for aging, it's interesting because it's rustic. So the wine keep in the meantime, also not for 10 years, but if you forget it, you won't be disappointed.
That's fantastic. Thank you. One more question about your wonderful recipe. I love that orange and nut oil dressing. Could you do that for, say, something like Puy lentils instead of rice?
I do that with chou.
Cabbage.
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 Oh, okay.
I have two versions, but I thought black rice was more sexy than cabbage.
But is it cooked cabbage or raw?
No, raw cabbage. Raw, you can have a green or red cabbage.
Right.
And it works very well, and it's lighter. It's, you know, the black rice is to be in good shape until the end of the day.
Yeah, yeah. That's wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm going to jump in because I'm conscious of the fact that we have 6 wines to taste and 6 dishes to talk about. So if you don't mind, Tam, can I move to the next person?
Yes. And Louise, if you need to manage the time or conversation, just jump in.
I will.
Feel free.
We're going to move from Valerie's hotspot to a much cooler place, which is where Carole Panman is. Carole, can you tell us a little bit about where Chateau Rive Blanc is and why it's cooler?
Yeah, with pleasure. First of all, I want to say it's so wonderful that Tamlyn's here, that she's joined us for lunch. This is great. So we're having lunch from really cool climate places to the hotspots of the Languedoc. It really is. It covers the whole region. It's fabulous. We are in Limoux, Françoise and I, my friend down the road. And Rive Blanc specializes in white wines, white and sparkling, because of the reason that Limoux is really great. It has a great terroir for white wines and for sparkling wines. And it's, Tam, in your tasting notes, you wrote about the cool elegance of Limoux. I think people really acknowledge and recognize this. Jancis herself has talked about Limoux as being a place where some of the best Chardonnay in France comes from. So nature has really presented this to us on a plate. In our case, nature's presented it to us on a high terrace of the Aude Valley. So we're at sort of 400 meters altitude in our highest part. And it's just tailor-made for white wine. And the 3 grape varieties of the Limoux appellation, which are Chardonnay, Chenin Blanc, and Mosaic, really thrive under these conditions. But today, of course, we're concentrating on the Chardonnay because that's the one in the box, and that's the one that Tamlyn has reviewed for the occasion.
Mm-hmm. And you chose to pair it with something that's quite unusual, isn't it? Not a Languedoc kind of dish at all.
No, yeah, I was playing around. The thing is, it's been so hot, and quite a lot of our dishes are quite warm up here. And all I could think of, we have this vegetable garden that's just bursting with lettuce, and so I just had to go and see what there was and go from there. But Odyssey is a very versatile wine because it has this fabulous freshness. It goes very well with a lot of different dishes. It goes really well with white meats and game even. But I thought I would test it with tuna. What did you think, Tamlyn?
Well, first of all, you've got to see the masterpiece. Again, I'm not too sure how
no,
well
that is. That is a masterpiece. Here's mine. Quite simple. Did it work?
Well, one of my first questions to you was,
if
you had mentioned, if anyone mentions tuna with Asian dressing to me, and you're thinking it's sugar and it's lime juice and it's fish sauce, I would always go for a Riesling and probably an off-dry Riesling. So I was quite taken aback. I thought, Oak Chardonnay is not a traditional pairing with an Asian dish like that. So, and of course, and you'll find that my kind of cliched thinking in food and wine pairing has been challenged quite often throughout this lunch. And I wanted to know, do you find that sommeliers and restaurants tend to be equally cliched in their pairings? And can that be a source of frustration for you?
I haven't come across that very often. I have to say most of the sommeliers that I've been in touch with have been really really kind of wide thinking about the possibilities of food and wine, which is the reason why I always encourage anyone who comes to see us. I encourage them to do 2 things. One is to buy their wine from a local independent wine merchant who can advise them also about what goes with what, because they know the vineyards. And the other is to not be afraid of the sommelier in the restaurant. You know, you shouldn't be showing the sommelier how much you know about wine. You should be testing them to get them to come up with the best combinations. And I have
that's
found
a really good tip.
Yeah, no, you know.
So then the other thing I wanted to say to you is that I think it's a fabulous combination that completely surprised me.
My goodness.
and so I wouldn't put, for example, I wouldn't put a white Burgundy with this dish.
Yes.
So what is it about Limoux Chardonnay that it can go with dishes with high acidity, with a little bit of sugar, with some Asian complexity, unusual things like coriander and sesame seeds that I would not, and I don't think that a Burgundian oak Chardonnay could go with that. So what's special about Limoux?
I think it's because we have this confluence of two influences on our wines. We have the cool Atlantic influence, and we have the warm. So, you know, if I feel like it, I say we've got the passion of the Mediterranean, and we have the elegance of the Atlantic that comes in on Limoux. And it truly is a playground of these two influences. In fact, the rivers that run from the Pyrenees, our rivers here run from north to south, which is quite fun, you know, like the Aude goes from north to south.
Yeah.
Half of the tributaries fall down to the Mediterranean and half go to the Atlantic side. So we really are on the cusp of two influences. And I think that's what it must be, to be honest. It's the terroir. You know, we always talk about terroir, and a lot of people are perhaps a bit cynical about terroir, but it has to be terroir, I think, and it is terroir.
And do you think that might give the Chardonnay from Limoux a slightly more complex acidity? So a winemaker friend once explained to me, which sounds obvious perhaps to all of you who make wine, but he said to me, Tam, there's not just one kind of acidity in wine. He said there can be hundreds of different acidities in a wine. You know, it's not just tartaric and malic. And he said, often the best wines are those that, even if they're tiny, tiny amounts, they've actually got lots of different acidities in them. And it's a bit like a kaleidoscope, or like very finely etched crystal, where you've got a bit more complexity. So I was wondering if you think that might play a part in what makes
I mean, there are, of course, also chemical acidities. So I can say that a big advantage we have in Limoux is that we always have natural acidity. And I think it's that shines through. You pick the grapes for our still wines. We pick them when they're really balanced, when the sugar and the acidity is really balanced. And that shines through, and it is particular to the influences that we have here. I would agree with that.
Yeah.
You know that we once did a fake Burgundy. We just copied the protocol of making Burgundy for those two barrels.
Your facsimile.
Like, exactly, well done.
Yes.
And there wasn't a master of wine or a sommelier who didn't think it was a Burgundy, but it lacked the authenticity. And I think that would not have gone with this.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying Burgundies are not authentic.
Yeah.
They're coming from here, they're not authentic.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think you're right. It's the combination of the Mediterranean and the Atlantic, which is the influence.
So you're getting that beautiful ripeness and intensity of fruit that you perhaps wouldn't get in other places, but you're also getting that elegant acidity, and it's quite rare to find a Chardonnay that hits that perfect bliss point between the two.
We have to hope that continues. We have to see what's happening with climate change. You know? Yeah. Because that's changing the concept of terroir as well.
I'm going to jump in, if I may, because
okay,
and it's only fair that we talk about everything.
Thanks, Tam.
We've
great.
had a light red, perfect for summer. We have white. How about we try some rosé? Isabelle, you're the creator of the rosé in this book, aren't you? Isabelle from Languedoc. Are you with us? Yeah. Huh? I can't hear you. Speak up. Hello. Talk again. There we go. So, you might need to speak a little louder. Can you tell us a little bit, first of all, about the Clos des Nines, where you are?
Well, Clos des Nines is between Montpellier and Sète, some little hills 15 kilometers away from the seaside. From where I am, where my vineyard is, I can see Sète and the sea. It's 10 hectares in one lot, nested in the Garrigue, in the free land. And here I have 8 hectares of vineyard and 2 hectares of olive trees. And I created Clodenin 18 years ago as a lifestyle. And it's called Clodenin because I'm the mother of daughters, 3 niñas.
Ah, okay. Got you. All right. And the wine that you decided to put into the box is mainly Cinsault, am I right?
You're right. This Niño, that my little boy, the boy that I never had. So I have one every year now. And it's mainly Cinsault, 80% Cinsault. And I decided I would add some Grenache because I find in Grenache you have more deepness in the wine. You can drink, you can eat with the rosé and not just enjoy it as an aperitif.
And you matched it with something that sounds absolutely delicious, which I imagine you can find quite easily near to where you
with fresh red mulets.
Oh, delicious!
Oh, that looks gorgeous.
In Frontignan this morning, I almost couldn't buy one because, as he explained to me, the water was very clear, and when the water is clear, the fish see the nets and they don't get to the net. So the fish was rare this morning.
But fortunately, you managed to get
red millet and grilled zucchini. Very easy, very simple.
But delicious.
What did you think?
Yes. Well, this is one of the meals that we made last night because we thought we wouldn't be able to fit 6 in this morning. So I've got photographs of what we did. Unfortunately, we couldn't get hold of red mullet, but we had cod loin. So not quite as exciting. I don't think the flavour is as good as red mullet, and certainly, because it doesn't come from 15 kilometres away, not nearly as fresh. But we did grilled zucchini with it. I think the huge revelation for me, actually, there's a couple of things. One, you spoke about the 20% Grenache giving it more depth. And one of my tasting notes says that it smells of sunflower seeds and rosehip jelly, a full curve of that rosehip fruit in the palate, scooping up guava and wild strawberries and crumbled dried sage in its wake. Voluptuous but not sweet, long, insistent layered, a touch of lazy cream cheese tang and richness. And I said a rosé that needs more attention than most. And one of my questions was, I love Cinsault, and I often think it's underestimated as treated like a simple blending grape. And there were actually 2 questions out of that. One is, what do you think Cinsault brings to rosé wine? But the other question, which kind of you answered in the Grenache thing, is I said, how do you get that beautiful balance between richness and freshness in your rosé? Because most of the rosés I come across are either rich or they're fresh. They're either complex, rich, and fruity wines, or they're fresh and simple. And yours is just an extraordinary. It should almost be like a contradiction because its richness is it's so full-bodied, but it's so fresh. So I think you answered that with the Grenache.
Thank you very much for your comments. I am excited about that.
Well, it's so beautiful that. As you can see, this is from last night. We may have nearly finished the whole bottle.
Right.
It's always a good sign.
Best compliment ever.
That's great.
About Cinsault. Cinsault is a local grape as well. It grows.
Yeah.
It's very well adapted to our soil, temperature, warmness, and it brings us so much, either as an assemblage or on its own, because it's a big berry, it's a very juicy berry, and it's a very flavoring berry. And as in opposition to Grenache or Syrah, that needs to be very ripe, and that you have to wait quite a while until you have the good ripeness to the grape. Cinsault can be picked rather early in the season, and you can keep a lot of acidity, a lot of freshness, a lot of fruit. And I go back to what Valérie was saying, and it's very important in our very warm region to have that type of grape on assemblage. And then Grenache, obviously, I answered, but that was, I love Grenache. I love Grenache to grow, and I love Grenache to taste. I think it's a very majestic type of grape. It gives so much depth. I said deepness to the wines, and I use it quite often.
I like your description of Grenache being majestic. That's great. Then the food revelation for me was how I'm always very fussy about my olive oil, always buy really good quality, tiny production, try and avoid supermarket olive oil. And so we had a sort of early pressed, quite green flavors with drizzled over the zucchini, and we picked a whole bunch of fresh herbs from the garden and mixed those in. And what blew me away was how beautiful the rosé was with the olive oil. They just danced together. And I've never, in all my time, food and wine matching, I've never really thought about wines that particularly go with olive oil. And my question to you was, have you ever tried different olive oils with your rosé to see whether, does the rosé go with some olive oils better than others?
I am very chauvinistic about olive oil, as I produced my own olive oil. So
yeah.
I use only my olive oil. So no, to be very honest.
Yeah.
I use my olive oil to cook, but to go back to the peppery side of the olive oil that matches very well with the rosé. I could have tried a match for this lunch with, but the season is over, with strawberry and pepper.
I saw that. Can I have a recipe for your peppered strawberry soup?
My recipes are always very easy, just fresh strawberries, a little bit of mint and fresh black pepper on it. Not a lot, just a hint.
Sounds great.
And then would you...
I was just going to say, on the subject of recipes, all the recipes for the dishes that have been talked about today will be on the YouTube channel where we're going to post this video. You'll be able to see everything that was prepared, all the ingredients and the the how-to. So there will be that. I feel like I have to move this along a little bit because time is passing by. We put together the Vinifilles box with the idea that it's summer. These are wines perhaps for summer drinking and beyond. So there are not one but two rosés in the box, and we've talked about Isabelle's rosé from up towards the Montpellier set area. But if we were to go further southwest down towards the Roussillon, we would come to Château de Loup, which is where the second rosé comes from. And that one is made of, I think I'm right, Syrah and Grenache, and it's made by Séverine. So Séverine, would you like to tell us a little bit about you and where you are? And then we'll talk about the wine.
So I'm a Vinifilles. It's not really original today, but I'm Séverine from Château de Loup. We create the winery. There is 21 years now in the Roussillon. So we bought in October after the harvest. And the name of the winery, Lou, is not the name of my sister or my daughter. It's the name of the place where we are, and it means egg in Catalan language, because the place where we are have got an egg-shaped source of water. So to make wine, we need to have some water. So that's why we keep this name. So we are in organic process since the beginning. So it's important for us, and it's not too difficult in Roussillon because the climate is really easy to make it, and it's comfortable and interesting to make it for this wine. So the rosé, Château de Loup rosé, it's a blend between Grenache and Syrah. A little bit more Syrah for my blended. I try to make some things fresh and fruity. It's my obsession. That's why all the harvests are made by hand in the winery for the 80 hectares that we have. and all the harvests go in the cool chamber during 20 hours to go down the temperature between 2 and 4 degrees. So we can have juice in the winery between 4 and 6 degrees in the press machine. So it's really interesting for the aromas. Keep some freshness.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, that was one of my first questions, because when I tasted this wine, I found it really dry and racy and tight and very focused. But it was filled with this beautiful fruit. And there was kind of this red grapefruit, almost a little bit of honey in there, which is unusual for a rosé. It had lime blossom, it had a lovely lemon sherbet, and very pale raspberries. And what I wanted to know is so it was complex. It had fruit, but it had raciness. And how do you avoid, if you're aiming for fruitiness, how do you avoid your rosé becoming too simple and fruity? Because a lot of the rosés that I taste are really, they're meant to be, you know, drunk by the swimming pool and don't think about them at all, and they don't need food. Whereas you've got a rosé that has complexity, it has drive, and it's absolutely beautiful. I gave it a 17. So yes, what is the secret to avoiding being too fruity and too simple?
Well, the cool chamber is one of the secrets, because it gives a lot of interesting aromas by the first like maceration inside the berries. The second thing, since we keep only the first juice when we press, the second juice are tested. If it's not too tannic or if it's not too aromatic, they go in the red. We've got another red wine, light and fruity, like the spirit of the Méli-Mélo, but with Syrah and Grenache. And we keep only the first juice for the rosé. It's the tiny production of the winery. We make only 4,000 bottles on the production of the totality. It's 160,000 bottles. So it's the tiny production for us. Yeah. But I want to make a rosé who are interesting in the aperitif, but especially during the dinner or the dinner time with food. Yeah. That's why.
And do you think, I mean, tasting it with that ratatouille, again, you know, that's something that I would probably have paired with a red wine, in fact. So it's, you know, I've gone for some kind of light Italian red and loved the pairing with the rosé. And we tried the ratatouille both warm and cold, and it was delicious with rosé both sides. And I wonder, do you think that people underestimate rosé as a food wine?
It's the most difficult wine for me to make, a rosé. The rosé, it's really, really, really hard to do. A lot of people, thinking that it's something easy and like the rubbish of the cellar, with everything's not so bad inside the rosé, but it's totally the opposite. It's really, really difficult to make a really good rosé, especially for us in the south, where we don't have so many yields. Especially for me in Roussillon, it's really pretty low. We are for this rosé between 12 hectares for the Grenache, because it's come from Maury, and the Syrah is 18 hectoliters per hectare. So it's quite low, and it's really hard to have nice juice to make some rosé with nice balance and nice fruitness and freshness, especially freshness to keep the freshness in the heart. So people must be really respected in front of the rosé, because, you know, for us, each year it's my really like I don't know the name in English, like bête noire. It's my obsession.
Bête noire works in English.
Right. Because it's really, really difficult.
Yeah. I think it's really good for people to hear that, actually, because I think routinely rosé is treated like a non-serious wine, and people need to take rosé more seriously.
Yeah.
Is it possible to have a look at the food you prepared, either Séverine or Tam? Do we have some of those?
I've got the ratatouille here.
Ah, okay.
There we go. Ooh, looking everywhere.
And there's
different blend of tomatoes from the garden, the yellow one, the green one, and the red one, just with some olive oil, not from Isabelle or Valerie, only mine. I make some olive oil. Maybe one time we try to make the olive oil from the Vinifilles.
Yeah, I think that you girls should start selling olive oil as well as wine. I would love to be buying olive oil from you.
We'll jot that down as an idea.
We can do an olive oil tasting.
We can find a way.
That would be good.
And love some Vinifilles made some vinegar, so you can make the mix.
That would be fun. Louise is going, oh no.
Tomatoes, so.
So in this box, we've got red, we've got white, we've got a couple of styles of rosé, but we haven't had any bubbles yet. But of course, we haven't forgotten the bubbles because we're Languedoc-Roussillon and we can do lots of different styles of wine. So there is a bottle of bubbly in this box, and it comes from Françoise Antech, who is with us today. Hi, Françoise. So as we already said, Françoise is in Limoux, same area as Carole Panman, Châteaubriand Blanc. But Françoise, you're pretty famous really for your bubbles, aren't you? Could you tell us a little bit about what you do and how you do it?
So definitely I am
Oh dear.
For my wines in life. So Maison, we are specialized in sparkling wine, Crème en Limoux, Blanquette de Limoux, and Méthode Ancestrale. And I am a Karine neighbor. My vineyard is just close to her, and I'm really sparkling making. I like to explore many directions, like haute nature, like I do a 0.0 with no sugar, like very old age olives, which is not really in fashion anymore. So I like the idea that we can do in Limoux with our fantastic terroir unique wines. So I like also my grape mosaic and also the behavior of the Chardonnay de Chenin and the Pinot in Limoux, which are really different from the other places. So I'm a mix of all this.
Okay, Françoise, I'm struggling to hear you. The quality of the sound is not great. Does it help if you get any closer to the microphone, do you think?
I'm not sure if sometimes, this is why I disappeared, because there was a sort of, but I hope it's going to be okay now.
Okay, well, I guess the good point is that Françoise and I already talked at some length before this call, so I do know what she was going to talk about, which is the fact that she styles herself the bubbly girl, not only because she makes bubbles, but because she has a very bubbly personality, and she's a bit of a party girl, I think, on the quiet. She likes to get very much involved with the carnival in Limoux, doesn't she?
Nothing.
Large amounts of bubbles are consumed. Tam, what do you think about
don't mention, please, Louise, don't mention gin tonic.
I didn't mention gin tonic. There's no gin tonic in the box. Tam, what did you think about Françoise's bubbles?
What do I think about?
No,
Go ahead.
Sorry?
Tam, tell us how you found
okay.
Françoise's wine.
I love all Françoise's bubbles. Tasted through her range of Mauzac only blanquettes, which are very exciting. This is her slightly more kind of traditional sparkling wine blend with 70% Chardonnay, but then there's a little bit of, there's 20% Chenin, is that correct? And 10% Mauzac. And it's an absolutely beautiful wine. It's sort of, I wrote that it tastes like elderflower scented cream and ripe white peaches. And then there's a little touch of shortbread, which is that 18 months on the lease. So it brings that complexity. But what I found really interesting was Françoise had suggested pairing it with a fresh shrimp, pink grapefruit and avocado salad. And I was a bit worried because I thought that the wine, which is quite ethereal and delicate, wouldn't hold up to, you know, grapefruit has got a really strong, sweet citrus. So you've got the sweetness, and then you have the sharpness of the lemon juice that you're macerating the prawns in, and then there's Tabasco and there's chive. So I was a bit worried, and I thought this wine is going to fall over. Once again, I was proved completely wrong. The pairing just, it brought out a depth to the wine that I hadn't seen before. In fact, I went back and I upped the score because it suddenly made me appreciate, I guess I'd thought of this as an aperitif wine, and it's a food wine. It is, and then it also, I mean, quite a simple salad actually with, you know, basically 3-4 flavors, but it made this whole salad taste just pop on the palate. And it gave the salad this bright, vivid flavor. And the two of them together, I have to say, was, I went and updated my tasting note, and I said, this is probably one of the best food and wine pairings. It goes up with my top food and wine pairings ever. So,
wow.
So the food, and I just, Françoise, that was one of my first questions to you then. Do you think that people underestimate the food friendliness of Limoux sparkling wines, as in they treat them a bit like Prosecco, just to be drunk in a big party, because they don't have the price tag of champagne? You know, everyone knows that you can drink champagne throughout a meal. Do you think that people don't realize quite how serious these sparkling wines are?
Absolutely, and it's not, we have invented the bubble in Limoux, the sparkling wine, 5 centuries ago. And I think we have a long, long story of gastronomy in Languedoc and in Limoux particularly. And really, I always do menu with pairing bubble and the food, and it's always incredible. And you can do that in Limoux because many people today, they produce very different bubble. I have 15 bubble in my range. Some are rosé, some are oct, some are aged, some are brut nature. I have the ancestral for the dessert with a lot of fruit and sugar. And the diversity we can offer with sparkling is magic. And what Caril talked about that just a minute ago, but we've got the freshness because we've got the Pyrenees, we've got the age, and we've got this acidity that allow us to go wherever we want. And this is beautiful. And of course, I believe that to do this pairing with sparkling wine, bubbles makes life looks better, according to me. And whenever you hear the pop, when you say, "Oh, are you kidding me?" And I really do believe that to do all a meal with sparkling wine, you be sure you have a wonderful evening. But I also like the red, the rosé, and the wine from my friends. So I had to drink a lot. I'm sorry.
And I wanted to ask you, because you said the other thing that you would have with this wine was foie gras on toast. And I thought, wow, that's interesting. And again, I think I would have underestimated this. Can you talk me through that pairing and why that works?
Yeah, and you know, it's fun you talk about that because when I choose those two dishes, I probably wanted to show people that it's possible to have it as an aperitif, where usually you have a foie gras on toast, and it's very classic. And I believe that Eugénie, this cuvée, is really a classic, very elegant and delicate sparkling. But also you can move to different areas like I choose also the other dish because there is grapefruit and citrus, and this was reminding me the Chenin, which is, according to me, one of the most beautiful grapes we have in Limoux, and with all the citrus notes. And I think it was an echo to the dish. And we can go with foie gras and with the black pepper to enhance the freshness of the wine. But you can also visit other areas like Asian food, and with the shrimps and with the Tabasco, with a little bit of spices. And that is, I felt it was interesting, and it's easy to cook, to be very honest.
Which
I'm not a really great cooker, so foie gras from my friend Vinifilles was perfect.
If only we could get hold of good foie gras here, I would have tried it.
Perhaps we can bring you some sometime. We're coming up to almost an hour, so I think we should perhaps move to the sixth wine in the box. We haven't yet had a red wine that would be a little more spicy, fruity, but we're going to have one, of course, because we wouldn't have left that out. Pascal Rivière at La Jascastel. Hi. Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit, first of all, about where La Jascastel is, and then a bit about the wine that you've got in the Vinifilles box?
Yes, of course. La Jascastel is a little domain I've created 22 years ago. And the vineyard is situated at the north of Montpellier, not far from Larzac. And it's in the appellation Terrasse du Larzac, which is very new in France. It is born in 2014. And on the little village of Montpérou, which is very known for its wines. The Jascastel is now 12 hectares large. All the vineyards are conducted in organic agriculture. The harvests are made all by hands. And for the red, I distilled all the grapes, and I usually make long macerations. And I don't use a lot of sulfur during maceration because I don't know how to say it in English, so I won't say it. And so, sorry, I'm not very good.
It's okay. Tell us about wine. La Pimpinella. What is a Pimpinella?
A Pimpinella is a peony in English.
Okay.
It means peony, and I have chosen this flower for my wine because it is a very spicy and floral wine. It is also with a lot of red fruits, but especially spicy with pepper, like this big flower, you know. So I choose this name. The Pimpinella is a blend of 50% Grenache and about 20% old Carignan, 20% old Cinsault, and 10% only Syrah. The grapes are vinified separately, and then I make blend I keep the press because I think they are really bringing something to this wine. I pick up the grapes quite not raw, good maturity, and the freshness, as I know you are interested in freshness in Languedoc wine, is in fact obtained thanks to the fruit. Not really thanks to the acidity, because I haven't a lot of acidity in my wines, but in my red wines, not in my white, but in red wines. But the acidity of Pimpinella is compensated by the fruit. Only the fruit, the freshness of the fruit. You can smell garriga, you can smell tin, you can smell a lot of things, nearly mint. You smile. I don't know if the names are good in English.
No, they're perfect. Perfect.
Okay, so it's aged for not a long time, in fact, because Pimpinella, all the vineyard is situated in Terrasse du Larzac. And until 2016 millésime, it was a Terrasse du Larzac. But the yield are so small and the demand is so strong that I had no time to wait 1 year of growth with this wine. I had to unbottle it in March instead of August. So now it's a Languedoc wine, but the vineyard itself is situated in appellation Terrasse du Larzac.
Okay. And what sort of food did you imagine putting with this this spice blend?
Well, imagine everything, because I have tasted Pimpinella on everything. So you can drink it with tapas, with aperitif. You must drink it fresh at 15 degrees is good. Of course, in summer, in winter, you can drink it 18 degrees, but 15 is good. So with tapas, you can drink it with couscous, you can drink it with red meat, you can drink it with curry, but with all the cheese you want, and with chocolate cake, because there is a lot of Grenache, and you know Grenache smell chocolate and goes very well with chocolate. And I've chosen the recipe I gave you. It's a duck breast with fruit, chivos duck breast with fruits, because I thought it was a little bit international, things you can find everywhere on the world. And also because you can use all the fruit you want. So you can eat it at any season.
That's a great idea.
Good idea. Tam, what did you make of that pairing?
Oh, let me see if I can show you my my dish.
Yeah. That's it.
And I had the fruit that I've got here is we grilled pineapple, apricots, blackberries, pears, and clementines. So we've got a little bit of a yes. And that marinade is just gorgeous. Unfortunately, my butcher didn't have duck breast, but he's getting some in for me tomorrow, and we're going to remake the whole thing again tomorrow with duck breast, because I so want to try it. But so we've tried it with lamb. So that's
yes.
And the reason I went for lamb, because as a substitute, is because exactly as you said, that I found the spiciness on this wine just gorgeous. So for me, it was like it reminded me of when I went to Dubai and walked through the spice souks, those Middle Eastern spice souks where you've got the smell of sumac and baharat and rasa hanout and harissa, and then you've got that little, it's got really exotic flavors of like hibiscus petals and pomegranate juice, and but then there's really bright cranberry fruit that pops out at you. So it's got that, it's gorgeous. And my tasting note, which is before, I'd seen your recipe or anything, and I just said that this would send me straight to an Atelier cookbook, because I was thinking Middle Eastern dishes, something like a North African or Moroccan tagine, where they've got the dried apricots and lamb, slow baked, with lots of complex spices. So I was quite pleased when I saw the recipe that you put it, because I thought we both obviously thinking along the same lines, which is fruit and spice and quite intense flavors, because the wine can take it. But I wanted to ask you, if you hadn't had duck breast and you were making that same recipe, what meat would you have substituted?
Oh, as you have done with lamb is good. You can also use pork, it's possible. And you can use all the meat. If you put some sweet and spicy, duck and lamb is the best. If you prefer to eat meat very simple, it's steak is the best.
Okay. And I just, the other question that I wanted to ask you was, have you tried to pair this with any other kind of spicy dish? Like, would you put it with a curry of any sort, or do you think that would not work?
A what? Sorry?
A curry.
Oh, yes. I told you with a curry is very good with coconut juice and very spicy with curry, and it goes very well. Yes, I do it very often. Lamb or chicken also. Chicken, you can use chicken, pork. Yes, it's good. Yeah, you can taste it with this. It's very nice with tagine, as you just told.
Yeah. And then I think perhaps the what's your secret kind of question in this one is about the alcohol. I am normally very, very wary of high alcohol wines. I'm not very big. And it's very difficult to achieve balance in a wine at 15%. And actually, when I've tasted this wine, wrote the tasting note, whatever, I always taste the wines before I look at alcohol levels, so I'm not prejudiced. But normally I can pick up high alcohol levels very quickly. And it didn't come up in my tasting note at all until I looked at the back of the bottle and couldn't believe it. Pimpinella doesn't taste remotely hot. The alcohol is so beautifully imbalanced, and that is very difficult to do. How have you managed that?
I would say, first of all, I do not manage because it's a nature which chooses the alcohol. I don't. I prefer to pick up grapes which are good maturity than not mature, and keep. When you eat a fruit, an apricot, for example, if it's not mature, it's not good. For the grapes, it's the same. And I manage with tasting my grapes in the vineyard. And when the grapes are good to be eaten, good to be vinified, I pick them up. Grenache is always very high in level, in degree. Yeah. So we haven't really the choice. And I would say what I say to people coming in my domain and tasting wine, because today it's very up to date to say, oh, it's too high level alcohol, okay. I say, it's not the 3 last degrees which are important, but it's the 12 first. And furthermore, I would say that a well-balanced wine, even if it's 70 degrees, you can smell it, taste it. You won't burn your nose, even not burn your mouth. But you can taste a bad wine at 12 or 13 degrees. And if it's not well-balanced, you will burn nose and mouth. So it depends of the roundness, and you must know yourself when you drink wine. So just drink a glass of water, because if after a glass of wine and you take pleasure in what you drink, that's how I see it.
Yeah. Well,
bottles in the same time.
If I can just make a few words, it's like Pascal said. I think people must have in the mind that it's really important to have grapes who are used to evolve in some part of the France, in some area place for some type of appellation. For example, the Grenache, we spoke about the Grenache. The Grenache is in the Mediterranean coast because it is able to support a lot of things, and especially the dry climate and all the dry modality that we can have with these grapes. So maybe it's more difficult or more dangerous to try to make some Grenache in 13 degrees because it's not ripe already, and it must be really in the bad balance with the wine and with the wine at the end. So please, just when you have some sauce of wine in the glass, just try first to test the wine, because we are obsessed. Well, for me, I think it's the obsession for me, but I'm sure all the Vinifilles are concerned in the same platform than me. Just try to test the wine and feel the well balance that you can have, and you will be you will be surprised by all the wine that you can have with a nice and fresh, well balanced in our climate. Because we know about that, we try to make the best that we can. All the winery, a lot of the winery try to work with cool chamber, especially for this type of problem. We know that, we try, but I can't, for me, I speak only for me, I can't manage to keep some grapes not ripe in the vineyard, because for me it's one year of work with completely well, help me. You know,
it's a question of balance, not of degree.
Exactly.
And allowing the vineyard to be what it is, and allowing the grapes to be who they are and where they're from, rather than trying to force them into a shape that they're not shouldn't be in.
There are a lot of vineyards in the south of the world. We are not alone. And in Spain, in all south of France, in Italy, in Greece, everywhere it's the same. And it's not a problem. It's the quality when it's well done.
When there is balance.
I'm really sorry to leave in, but
amazing balance in that wine
means that the thing will either cut out or it will stop because the size of the
fire. But we want to go on.
So we're gonna have to stop. I'm really sorry.
Don't eat.
Oh no, it's just beginning.
I know.
That's fun.
We'll do it again another time. What I have to say at the end now is I need to explain how people can get their hands on these lovely wines, which is essentially by ordering the box online. You'll be able to find the link for that beneath this video. You'll also be able to find it on all the Vinifilles social media channels. So if you follow the Vinifilles on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook, you'll be able to find it there. The box costs €82 and that includes the delivery. So it's quite a good deal. You can ship it to the UK and 7 European destinations, all of which will be listed beneath this video. You order it from the Atelier de Vignerons, which is a wonderful little wine shop in Limoux. They've been super helpful in putting this deal together for us, so a big thank you to them. And finally, the biggest thank you of all perhaps to Tam for joining us today and taking this review of the wine.
It's been such fun. I've loved it. I'll send you the photographs of the food and my pairing notes. Yeah,
that would be fantastic.
And Tamlyn, promise to come and have lunch with us in person.
Oh, I would love to.
We'll do a proper Vinifilles lunch for you. Okay?
I'd love that. Absolutely love that.
Wonderful.
That'd be great.
I have to pick my boss out of her house so we can go and stay.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to hit the button which will cut this off. Thank you all very much for being here today. Thank you for everyone who's given their time to watch this at home. We hope if you get to taste the wines that you enjoyed them. Cheerio for now. Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, ladies.
Bye. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye. Cheers.
Cheers.